If you live with cats, you live with scooping. And if you've looked into automatic litter boxes to solve that problem, you've probably noticed they almost all follow a very specific design. They look like giant plastic space pods. They can trap odors inside the dome and can potentially get waste on the walls and then wipe off onto your cat's fur. And if you have a skittish cat, that bubble can feel a bit claustrophobic for them. So it's always nice to have options if you don't think the enclosed litter box is a fit for your cats. But this is the Popur S7 SLS. Popur actually sponsored today's video so I could put this unit through its paces, and boy, did I. Or at least, the boys did. We haven't tested a litter box with this style before, so seeing this unit definitely grabbed my attention. Ditching the rotating drum style entirely, they've done their own thing. It's completely open air, looks like a traditional litter pan, albeit a little bit more narrow than my cats are used to. It does have a decent width, but just a smidge more narrow than our other box, so I think it has thrown the boys off just a little bit with how they do their business in there. We're going to break down exactly how this setup works, look at the smart app integration, and talk about long-term maintenance, all while showing off the different pieces of the unit so you can actually see how it functions straight out of the box. So let's get into it. Pulling the Popur S7 out of its packaging, the footprint is quite generous, giving you a larger litter bed that measures 24 inches diagonally, or about 17.5 inches by 10 inches if you're measuring length and width. Because this design ditches a ceiling or a hooded roof entirely, it gives your cats completely unobstructed open air to toss their litter as far as their hearts desire. Hooray! If you have a larger cat, or just cats who absolutely hate being enclosed or cornered while doing their business, this open top format is definitely a win. They don't need to climb into a cave to do their business. Tommy and Kashi are fine with that, but I know some cats can shy away from that sort of design, so again, open top litter box for the win, if your cats aren't into the whole drum style. Inside the box, the components are very solid. The main litter tray base, the external waste bin unit, the power adapter, and the modular sifter mechanism itself. Looking at the build quality of these separate parts, there's no complex internal parts to really worry about, or hidden gears that can get knocked loose during transit, so when it shows up at your door, everything is intact. It's just a clean, wide open layout that immediately looks quite different from the more rounded style box. Setting the unit up is completely tool-free, so don't worry, you'll be able to follow the easy-to-read instructions and have this bad boy together in just a few minutes. The system uses what Popur calls an SLS, or a split litter system. Clean litter on one side, pee-pee poo-poo on the other side, in a nice enclosed space to keep the smells down. When that lid opens though, you will be able to smell everything in there. So luckily, it opens quickly, dumps the waste, and closes again so we're not fumigating our homes with our fur babies' offerings. It takes about 2 minutes to go from parts on the floor to a fully powered machine. Easy peasy. So how does a wide open box actually clean itself without spinning in a circle? It's pretty simple. Popur somewhat mimics the physics of human scooping, but it just automates it. When a cleaning cycle triggers, the entire litter chamber performs a smooth 90-degree tilt. As it tilts, gravity and the motion cause the clean litter to pull forward into this little area here, wrapping and isolating the waste clumps onto the sifter, ready to be dumped into the bin. Then, the metal sifter arm lifts the sifter and dumps all the waste into the disposal bin to be sealed away. Nice. Once the sifter finishes its pass, the chamber tilts back and a leveling algorithm spreads the clean litter back out into a level bed. A big benefit here is how nothing gets trapped behind a hard-to-remove grate, should you have smaller pieces that could have passed through the sifter and get caught behind a wall versus just being dumped away into the bin. This makes cleaning out those bits that much easier should you find yourself in a situation that calls for some manual removal. From a hardware safety standpoint, Popur calls this design a 200% safe. So if you use your first 100% of safety, you have a backup safety of another 100% to use if needed. Not quite sure how that works, but let's just roll with it and keep going with the review. Because there is no rotating barrel or scissor style mechanism, there is physically nowhere for a cat to get trapped or pinched. Even if the power totally cuts out or a sensor glitches mid-cycle, the box is completely open to the air. The sifter itself is incredibly lightweight, meaning even a curious kitten could easily push it aside without resistance and keep going about its business. I've actually tested this out, and I cannot find a way that our cats could get pinched or trapped anywhere, even if they somehow managed to stay in the unit while it was rotating, or stood next to the accordion-style cover that stops your fur babies from getting underneath the litter bed portion of the unit. Now let's talk about the digital side of things, which kicks off right after you power up the unit for the very first time. The Popur S7 connects via Wi-Fi and Bluetooth to the dedicated smart app, and the control dashboard gives you a ton of flexibility over how the machine behaves based on your specific cat's personalities or health challenges. Who doesn't like a good app to manage everything and get alerts when things need attention? On the main screen, you get a real-time status update showing your current operation state and any alerts that you might need to check out. But where you get the value from the app is the advanced cleaning modes. For example, they have an auto berry mode, specifically designed for those prissy cats who don't cover their own deposits. The box will automatically mound litter over the top before sifting, which will help clump everything up so you don't have smears and gunk stick at everything. There's also a soft stool mode, so if your cat is going through some medical issues or anything like that, or they just have softer stool, it actually alters the sifter timing and tilt angles to give tricky messes a little bit more time to set, preventing them from breaking apart during the cycle. For safety and peace of mind, they've integrated what they call Sentinel mode. Powered by an upgraded millimeter wave radar platform, this provides highly accurate detection around the unit, regardless of your room's lighting or what surface the box is sitting on. If a skittish cat approaches while the machine is tilting, it actually stops motion instantly, but doesn't startle them or, spook them a little bit too much. There are a ton of options in the app to customize, control, and monitor your S7 litter box, so you always know what's going on. The user interface is clean, highly visual, and lets you remotely trigger a clean, check for firmware updates, along with a ton of other customization options to fit your needs. Of course, an automatic litter box is only as good as its maintenance routine. The exterior waste bin features a large, deep pocket capacity. Popur claims that for a single cat, it can hold up to 35 days of waste before you need a dump run. In a multi-cat household, you're looking at a completely hands-off week or so of usage before touching a trash bag, which is really nice, especially if you have to go away for a couple days. Setting up the waste liner for the first time shows you exactly how they combat odor. The bin utilizes a L-shaped gasket design paired with a 360-degree double bag wrap. When you lock the bag in and the bin lid closes, it creates a flexible airtight barrier that seals the smell directly inside the liner. Again, you're safe from those lovely smells that can come along with owning cats. When it does come time for a deep clean, the modular design is fantastic. You don't need anything fancy to take it apart. The litter tray liner can be detached, washed, and rinsed, and the sifter bar slides out nice and easy. And the rest of the frame can be wiped down in a couple of minutes. However, if you need to take the unit apart and do a deep clean and get every inch cleaned up, I did run into a bit more work getting the dust and litter particles in the unit cleaned out. There are some hard right angles in the area where the clean litter rotates into when doing a cycle, so that can get gummed up a little bit, as well as some of the litter tends to get stuck in the rubber gasket that runs along the edge of the litter bin. Overall, not a massive issue, but hopefully in future units, they can round out some of these squared off areas or find a way to make it even easier to clean out if some litter does find its way into these tighter spots. So what do I think of the Popur S7 SLS? I think it's a great unit if you have the space and you want something that is super safe for your cats and easy to keep clean. It keeps the mechanical components completely dry and away from the gift basket zone. And the structural safety is top notch. It's an incredibly well thought out bit of tech that delivers on giving you your time back while keeping your cats safe and the litter box clean. It does come with a couple unexpected issues that I personally ran into, and it is most likely due to the fact that I have 2 boy cats. Unfortunately, even though they are both fixed, they will sometimes spray, and we've had a time where Kashi actually sprayed right over the side and got his spray everywhere. It was great. I was so happy to clean all of that up. Thankfully, though, Popur recognized that the lower sides could be an issue and actually have created a guardrail that gives you a little bit more height. And even better, they have a 3D file that people can print at home if you're into 3D printing to print a guardrail. So that will definitely help keep things in the box a little bit more. The other issue is how narrow the box is, like the litter box specifically, compared to what the boys are currently used to. So watching them navigate around without stepping in their newly deposited present is always funny to see, and we just cross our fingers. For the most part, they really haven't had any issues, but there's been a few times, which you could honestly get in any other litter box as well. Lastly is the entire footprint of the unit. Because of the style of the litter box, it does take up a fair amount of real estate. But if you have the room, that won't be an issue. So if you are tight on space, you may want to look at the measurements before picking one up for yourself. Those issues aside, it is a fantastic unit that works really well and is easy to maintain. The main reason we buy automatic litter boxes in the first place is for the ease of use and not having to hunch over a litter box every day cleaning out buried treasures. I want to give a huge thanks yet again to Popur for sponsoring the video and letting me put this unit to the test for the last few months. They have been very patient waiting for this review, so thank you yet again, Popur, for being an incredible brand to work with. If you are still cleaning out your litter box manually, what is the biggest thing keeping you from getting an automatic litter box? What is something that you would like to see in an automatic litter box that you haven't seen yet? Any preference on a covered litter box versus an uncovered litter box? I would love to hear your thoughts. I hope you found this review helpful, and if you did, feel free to subscribe, drop a like to help support the channel and this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.